Yeah, we're live. You know what that means, folks? I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and I can promise you right now, this is going to be a CRM Players like there has never been before.
Well, reality is we can say that literally every week.
No, that's true, too.
Think about it, because if it was like one we did before, then we're just basically doing a rerun.
Well, we aren't going to do that. We're going to do something that we have never done before. How about that?
There we go.
All right, here we are. All right, so folks, usually we do a lot of schmoozing when we start a show. Well, we can't really do all the schmoozing because this show is going to start in a much more different way, because I think I mentioned this last week, and let me see if I've got the graphic. Here we are. So last week, I think I teased a little bit about hosting what I think will probably be the first and possibly the last CDP flavored hot wings challenge that the folks at SAP, the CX folks at SAP are putting together. And it's happening tomorrow at 12:30 East Coast time. Definitely want to check that out tomorrow. It's got two heavyweights. Well, they actually kind of look more like, well, maybe middleweights, welterweights, yeah, something like that. But two heavyweight celebrity personalities in the CDP space for SAP. We've got Ratul Shah and we've got Dan Trantner. And we just had a chance to talk to both of them. They're getting ready because we are going to do the official weigh-in show. Let me drop that now. We're back here. So we're going to do the official weigh-in show because we all know that every fight, every MMA or any kind of regular fight, if it's a big fight, you have to do the weigh-in show and the trash talk the day before. It's just to set the tone for the big event the next day, right?
I'm ready.
You got the all right. So yeah, there it is. He's got the scale. That's the official CRM Players scale.
That's right.
Didn't know we had one.
Yes,
all right. Okay, so before we gotta welcome. We can't start a show without having Sven be the first one to comment. And at least I know what this one. This is Spanish, so I actually know what this one is.
Thank you, Sven.
And look who's back. Look who's come back.
Ginger.
All right. It's always nice to see you.
Thought leader.
That's right. And speaking of thought leaders, there's Mr. Thomas Liebernight.
Another one.
We're going somewhere. Man. We don't know where we're going. But, yeah.
We're having one of those CRM convos.
All right. So, as I was saying, before you can have a big fight, you got to have the pre-fight weigh-in / trash talk, and that's usually the day before. So, in the tradition of all great fights, we thought we had to do this. Now, to kind of set the stage, I wanted to just go through some good trash talk. Maybe we'll inspire our guys to bring it. I think Dan has already been inspired, to be quite honest. This might be a little bit more for Ratul. Let's see. I found some really good examples of trash talk during the weigh-in. So I thought I'd just play a little short clip, not too long, to get us ready. All right, so here is just a taste of what maybe we'll get from these two. Maybe they'll be inspired by this.
I mean, do you understand, Arrow? You and everybody else waited in the weather. You came to the press conference. Vandalay, it looks like he found a bathroom as a backdrop in the men's shelter he's living at in Rio and got somebody to point a cell phone at his face.
All right, man, I'm done talking to you.
You can't be done talking to me. You're right here facing me, dummy. You got to talk to me. You have no choice. You got nowhere to go. Keep talking.
Tito is literally in the only profession I know of where you don't need to wear a suit, and he keeps showing up in one. It's like a local funeral parlor closed, and he went and took it off a corpse.
Something you need to learn.
Shows up looking like a maitre d' at Golden Corral.
Yeah.
And by the way, Anderson, if I want your opinion, I will beat it out of you. Don't walk around handing out free advice. Why don't you go find a Sharpie marker and draw Steven Seagal's widow peak on him? His hairline's about as authentic as his fighting abilities. You can complain about your rib. I'm sure your rib did hurt. Your rib is inside of a coward. That's the problem your rib's got. It's got the same problem your hand and feet have. They're attached to you, dummy.
I'm going to talk about money because we are the business network and the business of the UFC and all that
I'll take
sort of
over
stuff.
from here, Nate. You can bounce.
Take a coffee break, Nate. And by coffee break, I mean bring me my coffee.
No.
Whoa! All right,
Whoa.
that was some good stuff.
That
right?
was nasty.
I like. You have to throw a little Conor McGregor in because
Yeah, because he's the biggest jerk of all of them. Right, so,
All right. Now that's good. That's good trash talk. But just a short clip to show you when maybe the trash talk goes slightly a little too far. See what that looks like.
Said, so what difference? Why'd you break up the hospital? I went to the hospital for why you figure on me? I went to the hospital for why you figure on me? Man, you know, you sat down. Sit down, man. Sit down, Joe. Why you think I'm me? Sit down, Joe. Huh? Sit down quick. Why you think I'm me? The brothers are here. Doing this too? No. Sit down quick, Joe.
Well, we're having a scene, as you can see, and it's hard to tell whether it's clowning or for real between the two fighters. This kind of thing has been going on all along in terms of promotion of the fight, and this time it seems to be for real, because Joe Frazier is really angry. Muhammad called him ignorant, and he's really angry. I don't think this one is clowning at all. It's a bad and an ugly scene.
All right, we better stop that because we
Oh,
I don't want that guy to come back. All right, so that's where it goes a little too far. We may have to, be prepared to step in and break this
I'm
up.
ready.
You guys,
I'll use that the scale
All right, there it
to
is.
break it up.
So to bring these guys in, you got to also have some good like walk-in music, stuff like that. So I figured I think I found something that might work, and then we'll introduce them as this is playing. So we'll give that a shot. All right.
All right.
Here's what I found. I think this is actually some good stuff. Here we go.
And now it's time for the champions. KO Show!
All right. This is building the suspense.
Ladies and gentlemen, live aus Düsseldorf, die Klitschko Show.
Now, of course, let me turn the sound down a little bit here. Now, of course, we're not welcoming Vladimir Klitschko in, but I like the sound. I like the bed of music. So while this is playing, let me introduce to you our first contestant. I think he's getting ready to say something.
Is he in the locker room?
He's in the locker room. He's getting a rub down at the point. Yeah, it's going on right now. So let me bring on contestant number one. Coming out of the Midwest, Indianapolis area. He is the one. He is the only. Well, I don't know. Anyway, he is Ratul Shah. As I like to call him, Ratul sting like a bee, float like a butterfly, Shah. There he is. There he is. Are you feeling a little pumped up?
I am. I love it. I love the comparison to Klitschko. I love the Midwest style, and I appreciate you guys bringing us on for my debut episode of the CRM Playaz.
That's right.
Thank you so much for having us. And I'll take the float like a bee.
All right, there it is. Give me a little. If you throw some jabs, social punches, that's okay. Because I think your guy, your contestant, he can take it because he is Dan, and this is the nickname I give him, Smoking Dan Trainer. There he goes. There he is. There he is. There it is. Bringing it up. All right, there it is. I feel like we're all pumped up. We're all ready to go. There it is, folks. All right, how do I get rid of this? Hey, please. Get rid of this here. There it is. All right, there it is. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Do you feel pumped? Did that get you, get you ready?
As much as the hot sauce I drank for breakfast, this is the mistake I'm having.
Yeah, there.
Oh,
come on, the only way to get the hot sauce, brother. I've been drinking 3 of these a day.
It's
3 a day.
Boy,
You don't know.
Drinking ghost peppers.
We were in the gym 2 hours last night, hitting the bag, drinking the sauce, sweating. I've got towels ready to wipe it all down.
Tearing,
nothing.
Yeah, I don't need towels. I won't need towels. Nuh-uh.
tearing the skin off chicken wings.
Hey, look,
Tearing
man,
the skin off chicken wings.
I think that
Ratul's he's eating tenders. Let's just start there, huh? He's eating tenders.
See, I wasn't even going to bring it up. I mean, Dan is already into it, man.
I've got to keep my lean figure, Dan. I can't have all the fat that is the wing. I got to have the sweet that is the ghost pepper.
It's no good if you're not grinding the bone, you know.
That's right.
All right. So, guys, first thing we got to ask you is, who came up with this idea to have you guys do this? Oh,
one of our good buddies.
So it was Ratul. This is your brainchild. So you really wanted to.
Yeah, we're backed by a really great business development team too. Yeah. So Sean Madsen, if you're listening, you get some kudos here too. But,
yeah.
Wait a minute. If Ratul came up with the idea, does that mean this thing is rigged?
Always rigged. Never play an unrigged game. You know this better.
And yet, Paul, the odds are 2-1 in favor of me. You know, Ratul's got 33. What does that tell you?
I think the betting line is swinging to Dan. Vegas is definitely backing Mr. Tranter. You know, the New York in him. The Yankees are pushing for him, but you never bet against the dark side. Always,
not especially since you created.
Oh, so that's his nickname. That's his nickname. So it's Ratul, the dark side. All right.
I've got my voodoo doll here, ready to mojo Dan. He's not going to be able to take it. The ghost pepper shakes are in the mix.
Man.
Dan is not going to turn an orphan of my daughter. We are living the dream this week.
I refuse to swear, but I did bring props.
Oh,
whoa! This is Ali Frazier all over again.
I know,
Ali
man.
Frazier.
I have a suspicion. If this wasn't virtual, this might be flying at this point.
It's all right. I was ready to swing that. I was ready to swing the scale if need be.
Because Dan and I first met in Vegas several years ago on a fight night, and now we're reuniting in this, and we fight every day with each other to battle. This will be the first time we're going head to head, so it's going to be an interesting mix. You know, you're going to see. We're not going to hold punches, Dan. It's going to be six rounds, working our way from bacon flavored hot sauce all the way to things I think that can actually melt metal.
Hey, Paul, put up that image that you had of the Scoville rating thing. There it is.
We're topping 1 million.
Let me bring it up. So what are we going at? Are you going up to tie? Is that the million? No, that's
Ghost.
No, we're going to Ghost.
Don't pass Ghost.
Ghost.
Yeah, I think it might actually. I think that the top one is higher than Ghost, so I don't know what it is.
It is. No,
that Scorpion thing is ridiculous.
That's not the highest though. The highest is Carolina Reaper, and that's 2.2 million. So you guys are wimping out. You guys are wimping out at 1 million.
Sean says there's something that they can weaponize. So it's okay. We're not professional fighters, Paul. So I'll settle.
This is great. All right, so guys, this is taking place 12:30 Eastern tomorrow, Friday. So just quickly, any last minute preparations? Do you guys get your will all made up before all this is going on, just in case,
I do. Luckily, go ahead, Dan.
Obviously, this is kind of, laughs and jokes. This is like sales v marketing. The kind of the ultimate clash. But Ratul and I, he's one of my closest friends. So we kind of prep one another. How are we gonna save our skins remotely? So I've got Pepto-Bismol, I've got yogurt. He sent me a link saying don't drink alcohol. So I think we're kind of, I think the best suggestion I've had today was make sure you have a bucket. It's going to be absolutely impossible to keep in. So who knows?
Wow.
It'll be fun to watch.
If you guys are actually eating bacon wings. Bacon flavored wings, then make sure you have that bucket because that's going to happen quick, right?
No,
and that's the beginning.
The thing I'm really looking forward to the most is Ratul is he's going to be using knife and fork on this thing.
Yeah.
Now that seems
before, and I touched my eye, and I got a little girl. I love her to death. I'll cry every day with her. I'll do it on national TV, but she's going to be at school. So I won't have like somebody to document it. I don't have my cheering section live and in person. So for motivation, yep, I've got a cheering section out there, but you're right, Dan. We've got the Pepto, maybe a little pregame with some Tums.
Totally.
A lot of yogurt. There's going to be, maybe a ranch flavored milkshake may make the mix.
A ranch flavored milkshake. Oh my God, that's worse than the hot wings.
I'm advocating that we talk a bit more about the CDP stuff earlier in the session.
I'm just going for a bucket.
I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to say as we get on, but
okay. So first of all, thank you to you and the other folks at SAP who came up with this idea and is going to do it, and for you guys to stepping up, doing all this stuff, getting the training in, getting all your extras that you'll need throughout the course of this event. Because I think it's going to be great. We are going to make sure we put a link to the registration on this show page. And Paul, any last words? Any encouragement you can give these guys before we let them go?
Well, the only thing I can possibly say now is I need about a minute right now to go get a bucket.
Well,
right. So,
Brett, I just want to say this to you is if I live, week 2, come to Indy, bring Bob. We'll watch the Rams Colts right here. Come to Indy. You can stay here. We'll do a show from there and we'll watch the game together.
Wow. Although, Bob will be pulling for the Bills because
he's not a Bills fan. He's not a Colts fan. You can get Charlie Shin. Oh, actually.
Charlie Shin. Right. You should introduce him. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'll let you know Charlie. He's VP of Business Analytics for the Colts.
Oh.
We'll get you hooked up. We'll
hook you up with him.
All right, guys. So I think the betting line, has the betting line changed because of this conversation? I don't know. Oh, he's got the voodoo doll. Man.
All right.
I got this right next to the Tabasco store in Louisiana. So it's coming with some
true voodoo.
All right. So it's going down tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern, Friday. Be there or,
Be there with you.
Dan, Ratul, thank you. I will see you guys tomorrow. I will definitely make sure this thing is officiated. There's nobody getting nothing from me unless you want to send me something, behind the scenes. I could change things.
Anyway. We want lots of engagement, lots of hashtag Team Dan on the chat, please.
Oh, yes. I still think it should be like Team Smoking Dan.
All right, I'm fine with that. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
People are catching on.
Yeah,
I actually do have one last question. Is there like a winner in this thing? So somebody supposed to like win?
It's a good question. Maybe we can talk about prioritization of marketing spend.
Yeah, the winner gets to decide what the next event is, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. We'll hold you to that too.
All right, guys. Thanks again. We will see you tomorrow. All right.
The best.
Cheers, everyone.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
That is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun for me because I'm not eating any of that stuff.
Amen, brother. I'm right there with you.
Look. I mean, we got a team Ratul hashtag going with. Oh, that's Lisa James. Hey,
of
Lisa.
Course.
Yep. So we got Team Ratul, and then I saw somebody on the Smoking Dan.
You saw it Smoking Dan?
Yeah, somebody caught on to my because I called him Smoking Dan Tranter. See, there's a Smoking Dan there.
Oh, there it is. Smoking Dan.
Yeah. People like that. All right. So how do we transition from that mayhem and chaos to our guest?
It's actually very easy. We kind of bring him on and start talking. But, the thing is that, and he will bring back, the good thing about our guest is he is, among other things, a voice of reason. So he will calm the situation down. He will focus us. He will get us to put away buckets, and we will be able to talk about real other things.
Well, before we bring him on and talk about other things, do you have who do you think is going to win this thing? Are you a Smoking Dan guy, or are you a what do we call Team Ratul guy?
You know what? I would be a fool to pick a winner on this one. Honestly, it's one of those things where even if there's a winner, they both lose.
Oh, look who's commenting here.
Ratul. He's picking Ratul.
Oh,
I can see.
You think so? Or is he talking about our guest coming up?
Oh no, he is. Of course he is.
Yeah.
You're right.
All right.
So far off.
So, in other words, now we can bring him on because Buffalo Bob has given us the way to introduce his brother. Yeah, I got to make sure I get it right. Jujhar Singh is here with us.
There's the man.
There he is.
Jujhar. I'm still hopped up. I'm even more hopped up if see you.
Great to be on the show for the first time.
Did you catch any of that? The hot sauce, hot wings challenge stuff.
I did hear a lot of the challenge. Seemed quite interesting.
So do you have a guess? Who do you think is going to take this? Or do you even care to guess at this point?
I'm not a betting man, but this will be a very evenly poised challenge. That's all I would say.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough one.
Again, be on that hot seat.
Hey, let me do this. Let me bring up that comment from Bob. Says, how does that make you feel when you see him commenting like that?
It feels really good. As Paul many times say, we are kind of sons, connected brothers of different mothers. Yeah. So that's what
I always call them, that brothers from another mother. Man, these two are so joined at the hip. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, look at Sven trying to get Bob to join in on the Hot Wings contest.
Yeah, that's not happening. Right. So it's one of the best relationships in the industry is the Jujhar Singh Bob.
Look at this. I don't know. Bob is saying he could take the spice. You know, both you guys.
He definitely can. I can vouch for that.
Can you handle a ghost pepper?
I've never tried it, but I'm willing to take it on.
Oh,
see, this is the fan club, man.
Maybe you know what? Maybe we ought to start thinking about a CRM Playaz eating challenge event because it sounds.
It would be, and Jujhar and Bob would be a tag team.
Oh yeah, we could do a team competition. Yeah,
that's it. And Jujhar and Bob would be a tag team. It would be vendor agnostic. They would just be a tag team. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely phenomenal. Okay. Anyway, so Jujhar, welcome. And we're not going to, as you can probably guess, we don't get too formal about these things. For those of you who don't know Jujhar, first thing I have to say is shame on you if you don't know him, because you should. He's been a leading pioneer in the industry for, well, let's say a long time. I don't want to age him too much, but he's been here for, let's say, considerably more than a decade. He's been a leader in the industry, especially all things customer facing. He is, and this is something I've said publicly before, and I will say it again, when it comes to, let's say, a profession as an enterprise architect, at that part of it, he is the best one I've ever known, bar none. No one even close. He understands how to build things. He gets things. Not only does he understand how to build them, he gets them built, and they, let's say, are typically very successful, right? And so now, of course, he is building all the product for industries for Salesforce, and in conversations I've had with you, Jujhar, over the last couple of years in particular, one of the things I haven't mentioned, but I've always been pretty astounded by, is your actual knowledge of the products as opposed to your portfolio knowledge, which of course is all of them, right? You actually really have a deep knowledge of each of them in addition. So, from that standpoint, though, I want to kind of start this by you kind of taking us through kind of the strategy for industries, because obviously Salesforce has made a gigantic play in industries with with what you've done, and then the acquisition of Velocity following that. put you up in a leadership category as one of the companies really driving the charge. So what is the strategy, and what's, from your perspective, how do you see it aligning with the current market? Where do you see it going? So on.
First of all, Paul, and thanks a lot for the kind words. I would say I'm a student of CRM and have been for a long period of time. So it's a constant learning process. You can never know enough. And industries have their own nuances. But in my lifetime, I've had the opportunity kind of to work on horizontal CRM as well as vertical CRM. So I could glean from those learnings across the board. Just to you have asked multiple layers of questions to give you my perspective. First, let me kind of frame the Salesforce industry's overall picture, and then I'll also give you my perspective of kind of how we are trying to differentiate, and then maybe address your last point about what I'm seeing in the industry overall in the case of verticals. So first of all, in industries, Salesforce has been passionately investing in the industry's model. Starting 2013, we put a lot of emphasis on the go-to-market side of the house. 2016, we started to build industry clouds. Financial services and health were the first few ones. And today, we have those two same clouds have been kind of revved up 16 times. So we have been building industries for quite some period of time. 2019, we added 3 new industries to the picture, and then we acquired Velocity and .org. So today, we have 12 industry clouds, all built on the same infrastructure. So companies like SAP and Oracle have been building industry for quite some time. But I think our uniqueness lies in the fact that all built on the same infrastructure in the cloud gives us that distinct advantage. The other part which we have done quite uniquely, as Paul, you rightly pointed out, we have put not just spray painted, we have built deep industry verticals, because I believe that's what is needed when you get into the industry space. So we have 700 pre-built industry processes for those 12 industry clouds that I talked about. And we make investments at all different layers, kind of from data models to processes to analytical twins to predictive AI models all across the board. And in certain industries, we have not yet stopped at just the industry level. We go deeper on the sub-segment level as well. We have coupled it with the sales and marketing alignment. We have almost 55% of our AEs who are industry aligned, because we believe speaking the language of our customers is the right thing to do. And then thousands of industry experts. That's just a quick view of overall where Salesforce Industries is. If I take a step back and think about kind of what is the elements of differentiation or kind of things that we are doing differently, I'll put them into a few categories. First of all, I would say in industries, there is a great need for reimagination, and we are focused on it. It's not taking the same processes and rebuilding it on the cloud. It is all about focused on reimagining it. I'll give you a quick example. If you take consumer goods cloud, the processes of retail execution have been around for multiple years, right? And I don't want to age myself. I don't want to look young per se. So the smart selling is a concept that we introduced. Retail execution, where sales rep go from store to store to check elements whether all the merchandise is in the right place through planograms, and then make the right offers, has been around for quite some time. When we tried to build consumer goods cloud, we said, how can we reimagine it? So rather than it being a manual process of going to every store, based on business needs, we put an AI model to say, hey, what are the right stores to visit? Once you are within the store, not do all the same repetitive activities all over again, but actually pick the right activities to do, which is, hey, right activities to do, and use, for example, Einstein vision. Why do you need to take pictures? Why can't a picture be looked at a vision model and say this stack is rightly done and the other one is not rightly done. And then use AI to make the right offer. So if you think about the complete supply chain, we reimagined it through AI. Second part, which I feel overall in the industry space, we need a little bit more effort, is we are still primarily all across selling one to many, whereas industry players actually need to cooperate as well. So if you are looking at healthcare, all payers have the same problem. They want a pristine provider record created so that they can make the right calls. Every payer individually spends hundreds of millions of dollars doing that. What if we could actually set up a many-to-many exchange where industry players, the Humanas of the world, Anthems of the world, they can come together to actually make that happen. So our belief is exchanges are going to dramatically reimagine those industries. And we pioneered that part also with the help of Philanthropy Cloud. And Paul, you are well aware of it. Brent, you are also well aware of it. It's a marketplace where on the one hand, you have the dimensions of a set of 1.5 million causes. And on the other hand, companies come in. And the unique part is the employee of that company can take his profile from one part to another. And we have multiple customers like Auto Club, Deloitte, Kellogg, all of them actually using this particular exchange. But our belief is in industries, these exchanges are going to become the norm because you are going to compete in certain areas and you are going to cooperate in other ones. And these exchanges, these many-to-many models are going to be the ones that truly change the unit. So that reimagination, I believe, is going to be extremely unique. The second part, along with the reimagination, I would say is people in the past have been focused on processes, but insights is another part in industries which become extremely important. And let me give you my perspective on the insights piece. So on the one hand, I would say you have the dimensions of a shopper index that we launched for our retail offering. So the example is based on the patterns within the industry. We bring the intelligence of what is the trends that are happening, which was extremely important in pandemic also to understand those trends. And then also bring benchmark information. So those two things, I believe, with the software, the reimagination through AI and exchanges is going to be very dramatically changing how the different industries operate. And we are at the forefront of those changes across the board.
Can you talk a little bit about there's a lot of change. How much of that change, comes from having to address what happened during the pandemic? We've heard, generally speaking, that changes in digital transformation is more of an acceleration. People knew that they had to make certain changes. They were kind of putting it off. Then the pandemic happened, and then they were kind of forced to accelerate their efforts. But how much of it is, actual change in knowing because of some of the behavioral changes that have come about? And it seems like there's a certain level of permanence to some of these changes. How much? Oh, I was just going to say, how much of this change has been pushed because of what happened in the pandemic versus just an acceleration because people knew that they had to get things going faster?
I think the pandemic definitely has been a big part in accelerating the digital transformation. People were trying to do things in a matter of days, which they had planned for over multiple years. Right? So that acceleration definitely, Brent, is a big part of the story. So I can give you multiple examples of our customers. Moscone Bank, they are a mutual bank in New Hampshire, and in their case, the small business loans, they were trying to disperse them as part of the PPP program. And they did not have a huge set of development force. In fact, they had 4 developers. They had to kind of really brace up to actually protect their communities. And they could actually do They process loans in 14 days that they complete in 1 year. And with 4 developers working with Encino, one of our partners on top of the Salesforce platform. This is a classic example of acceleration. But to your other point, there are certain things which we have seen and I believe are going to stay. So one part I would say is there is a fundamental change of direct to consumer. That's happening across the board. Virtual, in my mind, is going to stay. It is going to basically change how we operate. And our thesis is that, for example, if you take virtual care, kind of people in the pandemic were forced to use that model. But going forward, I believe that the physical care and virtual care are going to become a continuum. It is going to become a hybrid model. There are going to be cases when physical care is going to be needed, but the other ones are the virtual care is going to be a key portion for that. So there is going to be a fundamental change as far as the direct-to-consumer is concerned. Some of these motions of virtual will morph into hybrids. And the third part I would definitely emphasize is this reimagination, reinvention. People, I hear from a lot of our customers, they don't want to go back to the old way. They want to actually use this as a ignition point for multiple changes. So in talking to our customers, I truly believe this change is going to stay for quite a long time.
So let me, we're getting a couple of questions, I think, from
Want me to throw them up?
in the comments. Yeah, why don't we kind of they're kind of follow-ons on what you just said. This was one. Yeah.
We already kind of talked about that.
Right. Yeah, that one. And I think
we already kind of answered that one.
Yeah, we kind of covered that. It was more the first. Because look, here, to go to the trends thing. Go back to the trends question. I don't know if you can. What he's basically saying there is, he's trying to understand how many-to-many will map. In effect, how does many-to-many map with the trend toward one-to-one, right? Because that, of course, we spent a lot of time around personalization, over the last several years, and things have always seemed to be going that way. You're talking about marketplaces, many-to-many, as kind of the wave of the, let's call it the immediate future. And I think he's trying to figure out what's kind of the correlation of that.
Absolutely, great question. So I think I'm going to answer this in 2 dimensions.
Okay.
One, I'll take the context of how does it operate within the elements of exchanges, and then we'll go also to the part around kind of how digitization, I think, actually helps in the personalization journey as well. So taking the second one first, if you look at, as you digitize your processes much more, kind of you now are collecting a lot of information. And kind of you were talking about the hot wings challenge with CDP. CDP is at the heart of some of that digitization, collecting that information, but then making it personalized at scale. So kind of one of the changes, if more things are digitized, you are collecting a lot of information, you can actually get to know the profile of the person at scale and do mass personalization. So I believe the current trends actually help in mass personalization. The flip side of it is when we talk about exchanges, kind of the exchanges, if you think about it, the example that I gave from Philanthropy Cloud, you are trying to match employees working at those companies to the different elements of causes that they wanted to go after. But the employee profile, they could take it from one company to another. Same way, when you think about health exchanges, in those cases also, our belief is you will actually have a longitudinal profile of the patient. But through elements like blockchain, you would be in a position to consent, make sure that you only give the right set to the people that are needed. So for example, my whole profile does not need to be exposed to a dental insurance company. same way to a different provider, we can actually make personalized decisions based on the concept. So that's the change that I believe, both on the exchanges side as well as on the personalization front, with more digitization, more data, more AI, you can actually do mass personalization at scale.
Perfect. So, all right. So, you were talking about the philanthropy cloud a little earlier.
Say one thing.
One of the things I want to kind of drill down into, though, is you also have built a nonprofit cloud, and I think that it would be helpful if people kind of understand the difference between those two, because both of them are very capable products, but at the same time, they both have different purposes. And so, can you kind of dig into that a little bit for people?
So the difference between our nonprofit cloud and our philanthropy cloud offerings,
yes.
Is that your specific?
Nonprofit and philanthropy cloud, the difference.
Absolutely. So one of the fundamental differences is the nonprofit offering that we have created is focused on a lot of the nonprofit, and this is where Salesforce invests heavily in kind of enabling those nonprofits to run their business. So whether you are bringing in donations, etc., it actually makes their processes kind of much more efficient. So that's their focus. And as our CEO, Mark Benioff, always talks about, business is the greatest platform for change. That's a thing that we have used, that 1-1-1 model from our very inception. And this is where the investment in .org went in, with nonprofit got in there. On the other hand, philanthropic cloud, as I mentioned, is a many-to-many exchange where we are bringing causes across. It's a marketplace where we are bringing causes across multiple people. We bring that in, companies come, and the employees subscribe to those causes. So it's a match of kind of all the causes on the one hand, along with the employees who want to invest in certain causes, and they can take their causes from one company to another. So that's the model between the two, how we differentiate across each one.
So
I got one. As you can see, the emphasis on industries is just ramping up, and we talked to a lot of different vendors. They're doing different things to address industries. But how's the relationship between the system integrators and you as you build out these industry-specific clouds? How does that change the dynamic between you and your system integrators?
Great question. Brent, in case of Salesforce, from our very inception, the partners have played an extremely important part. Whether it is the horizontal clouds or our industry verticals, it's no different in case of how we operate it. If you think about, we have close to 700 plus apps on our App Exchange, which are vertical specific. We have thousands of SIs who are trained on it. In our model, if you think about it, we have our key ISVs who are not just using our platform. So those examples I gave from Encino on Moscone Bank, built on top of Salesforce platform. Same way, if you have Viva, one of our first verticals built on the Force.com platform. But as we are building verticals, we have partners of ours, big partners who are actually adopting and using us on building on top of our vertical solutions. So the motion is very similar. I'll give you the example of IQVIA. IQVIA is built certain scenarios right on top of our platform. Cerner actually has used our health cloud and built on top of it. So the motion that we had on the horizontal side, we have extended it on the vertical side as well. One thing I would say is, traditionally, when you switch from a horizontal to a vertical, your question is very fair. Partners feel, hey, is our playing space going to get reduced? In our estimation, when we built our industry verticals, we looked at if we had a strong player on our platform, on our ecosystem, who's actually already built on top of it, we actually did not get into that space. but we try to build into adjacent spaces. So we kept the customer's perspective on our ecosystems in mind when we built it. The last part, which has actually helped us quite a lot, is transparency and visibility. Our partners are truly our partners. So as we build and expand, we actually are extremely transparent in saying, hey, this is where we are going. As I said, one, we use it in our planning process to say, we are not going to expand to those areas. In the second part, even if we have to move, we give them constant visibility as our roadmaps evolve. So I believe for us, the partners play a super important role, have been extremely important, although kind of the areas, the bounding sets are becoming smaller, but with proper collaboration and planning, it can easily mitigate.
I mean, actually going to your kind of the second point you made about partners and not building. So in effectively, you were leaving, for example, you leave life sciences to Viva. You left a lot of the specific industries that Velocity had to Velocity, and consequently, the acquisition becomes actually all that much easier, really, because you don't have competing industries. You just kind of massively expand your portfolio by doing that, which makes it. I mean, to be honest, I always thought, that's an incredibly wise way to approach this, because I know there are a lot of, let's say, competing philosophies. Okay, well, yeah, we'll have partners building, we'll build, it doesn't mean we won't promote the partner, but we'll relegate them to this area, we'll handle this area, but it's the same vertical, and it creates issues. And in your case, I have to say, and I really have kind of, because I've known Velocity and David, I knew when you knew him at Siebel, right? I mean, absolutely, all the way back, right? And so I watched that acquisition a lot, and I thought it was a fantastic acquisition. And I remember thinking at the time it happened, though, I wonder what Jujhar is going to think about this. I really did. That was like one of my first thoughts, because you were already building out this massive portfolio, and all of a sudden you now have another 7 or 8 in your portfolio that you got to deal with. And actually, which is a great question, what did you think of it at that time?
Great question. Actually, I was the biggest proponent of getting Velocity onto the Salesforce platform, because there are two things which made it extremely important: great talent, great focus on the industry verticals. But the other part was they were built on top of our platform.
Yeah.
So our belief is that the next generation of industries is going to learn from one another. So if you are built on the same platform, for us to take best practices from one industry and applying it to the other becomes extremely simple. So from that standpoint, we got great talent. We expanded our portfolio from 5 or 6 industries. We enhanced our health and financials, added 3 new more. So it was a win-win of the highest order. The point that I'm emphasizing is when you are built on the same platform and you have multiple industries, sharing best practices becomes extremely common. I constantly get asked by every industry customer. They'll say, hey, we know our competitors really well from retail. Tell us what can we learn from this other industry. So what we have done is, having been built on top of our platform, all of them on the same platform, helps us to build common components. I'll actually give you a very interesting example. So when you do insurance, life insurance on the financial side of the house, the insurance agents track, for example, they will track a kid is born, when somebody is going to call it. And based on those activities, they do follow-ups. So we built the concept of life events on the insurance side of the house. But as we started to talk to multiple industries, we found that concept of life events, the events are different, but the practices of doing follow-ups based on those key events in the person's life are very similar. Mm-hmm. So we went to the health industry and they said, hey, if you have 2 elderly spouses, they may track something else, which is if one of the spouse dies, the health of the remaining spouse actually is greatly impacted, and they want to do proper health actions follow-ups. So this way, we were actually in a position to build common components which we could take and from one industry and apply it to the other. And that has been a challenge in building industries across multiple companies. The long tail of industries is always a pain. But if you take the approach of best practices sharing and build it in a common fashion, it really dramatically changes, great value for customers, higher return on investment. So win-win for everyone.
Yeah, sure was. It was amazing. So future. Look, so here's the thing. I was thinking about this the other day. You have 12 industries. Other companies have similar numbers. Some have, I know some as many. I think like SAP has as many as 24. I believe. I mean, there's a lot of industries that are being covered by a lot of companies, and yet there are a lot more than 12, 15, 20, 30 industries. There's could be up to hundreds if you really want to like get into subsections, sub-industries and things like that. Okay, so there's sort of a two-part question is how do you think, okay, what's the next vertical that we want to focus on? How do you think about what's the thinking that leads to that? And on a very practical level, given as much as you feel you can talk about, what is the next vertical you want to focus on?
Great question, Paul. So I think our philosophy is the 12 industry verticals that we have opened up. We want to really go deep on them. As I said, we are not stopping at we are not doing just a spray paint, we are going deep. When we look at the depth, let me point out a few other things. When we are building, we are known as a CRM company, but when you operate in industries, the 500-pound gorillas in every industry are extremely important. So building that story end to end becomes extremely important. In certain cases, mid-office, getting into that space becomes extremely important. So in insurance, policy and claims has a big impact on the quote rate and apply processes of insurance industry as well. So we are actually going way deeper in getting into the mid-office, but with the perspective, how do we deliver a great customer experience? So with that intent, we are actually focused on those 12 industries. And as I mentioned, partners play a big part in our puzzle. So we are also leveraging some of those industry partners to actually help and extend built on top of the same platform. The second part of your question, when we choose, right? I'm not going to say which industry we will pick up, but let me take.
Come on.
Let me take rhetorical point of view on this. When we pick our industries, there are 3 or 4 dimensions that we look at. Number one is our customers. Our customers have been our biggest source of differentiation. We have built our industry clouds in deep design partnerships with large customers across the board. And they have been a big part in guiding us where to go as well. Second part is, there are certain industries where the TAM is higher and our strength of our platform is also way better for those. So that becomes the second set. Third part is where adjacencies can help. So if, for example, you are operating in financial insurance, going deeper on health insurance becomes that much easier. So those are the 3 parameters that I would say customers, TAM, technology, as well as functional adjacencies. Those become some of the parameters that we look at as we think about opening up new industries.
Actually, before you close, let me just ask a subset of this one. So when you're thinking about the deep part of the industry, are you at times will you come to a decision, and I don't know that you do, but will you come to a decision that's like, well, actually, we've just realized this about this industry. If we're going to put dollars anywhere, we're going to go deeper here rather than look at the new one here, or are you always doing both?
So that's where my first answer was. We have opened up 12. We want to be really good at those. Right. So depth comes before opening up a new theater.
Okay.
So That's very fundamental to us. But when we do look at opening up the new industry, I talked about the parameters that we would evaluate to go into those.
Okay.
Look, I'm going to kind of step somewhat in the same direction. So you already have these 12 industries. I'm sure there's a roadmap for others that you're really interested in. But as you build up new ones and you build more into the ones you already have, and with the kind of the focus on industries being so important going forward, how much say does industries have and what makes it into the base platform? Like if you see 4 or 5 industries, something trends that are commonalities that are bubble up, how much of that can actually make it into the base platform, because it's not specific to one industry and it's more general to multiple industries. So how much say does industries have, and then pushing that into the base platform?
Great question, Brent. And this is where this is not systemic to Salesforce. This is for all CRM companies that I've worked on. The tension between horizontals and verticals always is there. So no question about that. I think in our case, one advantage I keep repeating is we are built on kind of the world's best CRM platform, our Customer 360. So we are in a position to leverage that. So in our case, it's a very symbiotic relationship. So let me explain why. We can leverage the richness of what a Sales Cloud delivers, what a Service Cloud delivers, what a platform delivers. On the other hand, once we go deeper, we are the highest growth engine within the company as well. So the horizontal clouds actually get the advantage of, if we are operating in, for example, sales, a high-tech sales is very different from a consumer goods sales. So if we can bring that flavor, now you are actually coming up with a purpose-built application in the sales domain for those two industries. So with the result, you can open up newer customer segments rather than just if you are focused on an opportunity or a lead management. So the process is very symbiotic. And what we have also done is we have kind of invested in rationalizing across industries. So anytime we go back, we will look at 4 or 5 industries and say, what is it that is needed across each one of them in the platform? So the platform, when it makes the change, it is a bigger bang for the buck across the board as well. But deep symbiotic relationship, there is an element of when we leverage their strengths and they leverage the specificity that we bring on top of the platform. So,
yeah. So I think we have time for like one more question, and this one to me is always one that I find to be sort of tricky, although I'm pretty sure you know the answer to it. It's just I don't. It's not that I have an answer ahead of time. So it goes to the nonprofit cloud again, and it goes to the Salesforce tenet that you've been outlining, which is go deep, right? The thing about nonprofits, though, is that they're, other than tax status, they're pretty much unrelated in what they do. I mean, you could literally find 30 industries inside of nonprofit, right, alone. I mean, you have museums, and you have lobbying efforts, and you have professional associations, and you can keep going. There's a million different things that are fundamentally tied by 501c3 and not much else. Now, yet you have a single nonprofit cloud, which I'm sure from a financial process standpoint, and bookkeeping and the accounting side of it and all those things, all common. But all the other things, how do you even deal with that? How do you think about it? Because that's 30 industries in one industry.
Absolutely. Great question, Paul. If you look at nonprofits, they may have variations. Some may be in kind of ocean mining, another could be a museum. But at the heart of nonprofit processes, what is it that they are trying to do? One thing is they are trying to get volunteers, enthusiasm, as well as donations rationalized across every one of those 30 segments. So what we end up doing for those different nonprofits is we give them the tools that actually make them much more relevant in their spaces. So how do you get more donations? How do I get more volunteers? How do I bring out my name out there in the space? And they are built on top of our platform the same way. They can, for running a donation campaign, they can leverage at scale our marketing cloud to send out all those emails and put people on those journeys so that they can actually help and support that nonprofit cause. So even if there are 30 versions of it, as you said, 30 different models there, it is an area where there are common processes which each one of them have to do, and we invest in making it possible.
Okay, I mean, I have to tell you, that actually is a very nice answer, because that always befuddled me about the nonprofits, because I did a tour at one point in my career of multiple nonprofits. I went around and spoke at multiple nonprofits with EY, and I went to like the Chicago Museum of, Natural History, or what. I mean, I went to 20 different places, and none of them had any resemblance to each other whatsoever. But to your point, ultimately their purpose is common, and you're sort of building backward from the purpose, which makes complete sense. And thank you for that.
Although we do have one last question.
Okay.
Sure.
We ask this to everybody who comes on the show.
Yeah.
Maybe Paul knows the answer to this. I have no idea what it is. So, do you have a favorite football team, NFL football team?
Without a doubt, Seattle Seahawks.
Okay. That's that's okay on this show. That is a perfectly good answer. There's really only one bad answer. That would have been if you said the New England Patriots. But then I started thinking to myself, how can him and Bob be brothers from other mothers if he liked the Patriots? Because Bob is a Buffalo Bills guy, so that's wouldn't have worked. So.
That's right.
Just that Bob has a second home in Tacoma too, so he can be a partial Seahawks fan as well.
That's right. They retain. That's how they joined at the hip around the Seahawks.
There it is. Well, this has been really great. Thank you for coming
awesome.
and being a part of this. Are you sure you don't have a prediction for tomorrow's Hot Wings Challenge event? You don't want to go with Smoking Dan or the dark side. That's what it's called. The dark side.
Let me just say that, Brent, I don't want to be on that hot seat.
Amen. Amen, brother.
Awesome. Well,
thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. This is your first, but hopefully it will not be your last time doing this, because this is too good.
If you're up for coming back, count on it.
Thanks a lot for having me on the show. Talking to two industry stalwarts, one father of CRM. Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You're the best, man.
That was great. All right. So on behalf of Jujhar, I am Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and you know what time it is when you hear us say that. We'll see you next week.